Welcome to the European Association for Higher Education Advancements YouTube and podcast channel. All right, are you ready for this?
I am. Let's do it.
Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into lean living.
Okay.
And I think you're going to be surprised by what we find out.
Sounds interesting.
It's not just about tidying up your house or anything.
Yeah.
We've got this article from the EAEA.
Okay.
And it lays out like a whole philosophy for a simpler life, a more fulfilling life.
Oh, wow. Whole philosophy. Huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not just like tips and tricks.
right.
It's deeper than that.
I like it.
So the EAEA, they present this as a whole mindset shift. It's not a quick fix,
Okay,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah, it's about how you approach everything, your
Yeah.
whole life.
Okay, so they lay out 5 steps to building this leaner life. Let's get right to it.
Okay.
So step 1, simplifying your possessions. So, we've all got that just in case drawer or closet.
Oh, absolutely. Guilty as charged.
But think about it. How much time do we all spend managing all our stuff?
It's true. You don't really think about it, but it adds up. I know I do. For sure.
The EHEA, they make a great point. Clutter. It's not just physical space, is it?
No, definitely not. It's mental, too. It takes up so much mental energy.
Right. It's like, just imagine if you could reclaim even an hour a week
Oh, that would be amazing.
just because you know where your keys are
yeah.
or your wallet.
Right. Imagine what you could do with that hour. Read, learn something, just relax.
Exactly. Less stuff, less stress,
Yeah.
more time for what matters.
Love it.
So that brings us to step 2, streamlining routines. I used to waste so much time in the morning
Really?
just because my routine was all over the place. Once I streamlined it, I couldn't believe how much more focused I felt throughout the day.
Oh, wow. Routines, they are so important. For being productive, I mean. But they can get so bogged down with unnecessary steps.
Right.
The EEHEA, they recommend something called time mapping. Have you heard of that?
No, what's that?
Basically, you track how you spend every hour of your day for a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you see where you can be more efficient.
That sounds really insightful. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. On to a topic I know is on everyone's mind these days. Reducing expenses.
Yes. With how the economy is, this is more crucial than ever.
Absolutely.
The EAEO, they talk about the importance of knowing the difference between your needs and your wants. They also talk about mindful spending,
Okay.
which is basically being aware of the environmental and social impact of the things you buy. Did you know there are apps that can track your spending?
I've heard of budgeting apps, but
Well, these can even find ethical alternatives for the things you usually buy. Pretty cool, huh?
that's so cool. I had no idea. Okay, so we've got all these great tips already,
Yeah.
but the EHDA,
Yeah.
they make it a step further.
They do.
So step 4 is focusing on what's important. It's not just about doing less.
Oh,
It's about doing what really matters, the stuff that's aligned with, your values and goals.
I see. It's not just about decluttering your house. It's about decluttering your life.
Exactly.
Getting rid of commitments that aren't really serving you, that sort of thing.
Yes. And there are frameworks to help you with these tough decisions.
Oh, like what?
Well, have you ever used the Eisenhower matrix?
I've heard of it,
What's that?
but I'm not sure I've ever really used it.
So it's basically a way to categorize your tasks
Okay.
based on how urgent they are and how important they are. So you decide, okay, what needs to be done, right now? What can be scheduled for later? What can I delegate even? And what can just be, totally eliminated?
Wow, that sounds super helpful from anyone who feels totally overwhelmed by their to-do list.
Right.
That's awesome,
Okay, so we've got simplifying possessions.
right?
We've got streamlining routines.
Yeah.
We've got reducing expenses.
Yep.
And focusing on what's important. So that brings us to step number 5, the 5th and final step, practicing mindfulness. Come on. I think we could all use a little more mindfulness, with how busy life is these days.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Always running around. It's so easy to just get caught up in all the information and the distractions.
It's true.
Yeah.
So the AA talks about cultivating this deeper awareness of the present moment,
Okay.
both internally and externally,
So noticing your thoughts, your feelings.
without judging.
Right.
And then also paying attention to the world around us.
That's great. I really like that.
So I think this is where lean living really shines, It's not just about being more efficient or productive.
Uh-huh.
It's also about cultivating a sense of peace, just being present.
It's true. And that inner peace, it can affect everything else too.
Right.
Your relationships, your work, just how you feel overall.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that True fulfillment doesn't come from always wanting more.
Right.
It comes from being present right here, right now.
Totally. I'm on board with that.
Okay, so let's recap these 5 steps really quick. We got simplifying possessions.
Yeah.
We've got streamlining routines, reducing expenses, focusing on what's important, and practicing mindfulness.
Sounds like a good plan, a good way to, approach life.
It really does. It's a pretty comprehensive way to, create a simpler, more meaningful life.
Totally agree with that. But, how do all these pieces fit together,
So I was going to say, it sounds like a pretty long to-do list.
It does.
But I feel like they all support each other, right?
They absolutely do. They're all connected. They work together. So, for example, let's think about how simplifying your possessions can actually make it easier to streamline your routines.
Oh, okay.
When you just have less stuff to deal with, right? You've got less to clean, less to organize, less to, worry about.
So I have more time for the things that really matter to me. The relationships, the activities I enjoy. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So it's like simplifying my physical space helps me simplify my mental space.
Yeah. It creates this, ripple effect.
I love that. A ripple effect.
Yeah.
So then where does mindfulness fit into all of this?
That's a good question. Well, think of it as the foundation. It helps you make conscious choices in all the other areas. So when you're more mindful, you're more aware of your habits. And then you can identify those areas where you're just wasting time and energy, maybe even money.
So I'm more intentional about how I spend my money, how I manage my time.
Exactly. It's like having, a clearer lens to view your choices.
That is such a good analogy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really starting to see how powerful this whole lean living philosophy can be.
Me too.
It's not just about decluttering your closet.
Right.
It's about decluttering your life.
Yes.
And then making space for what's really important.
Creating a life that just feels more spacious, both physically and mentally.
I love that. Okay, so for our listeners who are excited to get started, what's the first step they should take?
I'd say start small and be patient with yourself. Lean living, it's not about being a perfect minimalist or anything.
Oh.
It's not about achieving this ideal. It's a journey,
I love that. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. Choose one area that speaks to you and just make small changes gradually. Maybe it's decluttering one drawer every day, or maybe it's simplifying your morning routine,
All right.
or even just committing to 5 minutes of mindfulness every morning when you wake up.
Those are really great suggestions.
Thanks.
And I think it's important to remember it's a personal approach, right? What works for one person
Totally.
might not work for another.
Absolutely. It's about what works for you, what fits your values.
Exactly. Okay, this has been such an awesome conversation so far.
Yeah, it has. I'm really enjoying this.
I feel so inspired to make some changes.
I know.
And we've covered a lot of ground even just in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
But there's so much more to explore, right?
There is so much. In the next part, we'll dive into some real life examples.
Yeah.
People who have actually used these lean living principles.
Okay, awesome.
And, we'll talk about the impact it had on their lives.
So cool.
We'll also talk about some of the challenges and, how to overcome them.
I can't wait to hear about those. And listener, we want to hear from you too. What are you hoping to learn from this deep dive? What are your biggest challenges, when you're trying to simplify your life? Share your thoughts with us in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. So it's amazing, how much we can all learn from people who have already been doing this lean living thing.
Yeah.
There was this one story about this entrepreneur. She was just totally overwhelmed.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right. So her business was growing.
Okay.
And she just felt like she had to say yes to every opportunity, even if it didn't really fit with her goals.
I see.
So she started using these lean living principles. She decluttered her schedule, started delegating tasks, and she focused on just the projects that really mattered to her.
So what happened?
It's amazing. Her productivity just went way up. But also she found her passion again, and she felt so much more peaceful and balanced.
That's so awesome. It's not just about getting more done. It's about feeling better too.
Right. It's about your well-being, the whole picture.
It's amazing. But I imagine it's not always easy to make these changes.
You're right. Letting go of things is hard, even if you know they're not good for you.
I know.
The EAA, they talk about this. They have tips for getting past the emotional hurdles.
What kind of hurdles are we talking about?
Well, some people, they're afraid of missing out,
Oh, yeah, FOMO.
Exactly. Others, they get attached to their things, like sentimentally.
That's so close to enough.
And then there's like the pressure from society
Yeah.
to just keep buying more stuff.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It is. It is. So one thing they suggest is to like reframe your thinking.
Okay.
Instead of thinking about what you're giving up, think about what you're gaining.
Okay, so like more time.
More time, more freedom, more peace of mind, all that good stuff.
So instead of scarcity, it's about abundance.
Exactly. It's about knowing that like real abundance comes from having the things that really matter, you know, not just having more stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
And speaking of abundance, I'm curious about the financial side of lean living. Like, how does this approach impact our finances?
That's a really good question. The EAHA, they're big on financial freedom.
Oh, okay.
It's not just about saving money.
Oh, okay.
It's about creating a life where you're not like stuck. You're not tied to material possessions or to a job you hate just because it pays well, you know?
So it's about aligning your spending with your values
Right.
and making sure you're financially sustainable.
Exactly. It's about feeling secure.
That makes a lot of sense. And there are people who are using this to like become financially independent.
There are, yeah. They simplify their lifestyles, they reduce their expenses, they save more, invest wisely, and some are even retiring early.
That's awesome. So lean living, it's not just about money, it's about time and energy too.
It's about having the freedom to do what you love, spend time with the people you care about, you know, make a difference in the world.
It's about designing a life that like really reflects who you are, what you want to achieve.
Exactly. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our deep dive.
Okay.
What are some things our listener can do, like practically, to start using these principles?
That's a good question.
I think the first thing is like self-reflection. Take some time to think about what really matters to you. What are your values? What are your goals? You know, what brings you joy?
It's about getting to know yourself.
Yeah. And once you know what's important, it's easier to see where you can simplify, where you can streamline.
Right. You have to know where you're going before you can figure out how to get there.
That's a good way to put it. And remember, it doesn't have to happen overnight, right? Start small. Experiment. See what works.
Yeah.
It's all about learning, you know, and getting better as you go.
Progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And as you learn and grow, your priorities might change, you know? And that's okay. What's important is to stay connected to what you value and to make choices that are good for you.
So well said. This has been such a eye-opening conversation.
It has. I'm so glad we're talking about this.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what it means to live this way, to live intentionally.
Me too. I hope our listeners are feeling, you know, inspired to start making some changes.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
It's about creating a life that you're excited about, you know?
Yeah. A life that feels right.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, like all the possibilities that come from simplifying your life,
It is.
making space for the things that really matter.
Yeah. And lean living, it's not just for like your home or your finances or whatever.
Right.
It can apply to so many areas of life, your relationships, how you work,
Oh, it's interesting.
even your digital life, you know?
What does that even look like, lean living, in our digital world?
It's the same idea, really. Like
Right.
decluttering your physical space, you can declutter your digital space too. Unsubscribe from those emails.
Okay.
Cut back on social media. Organize your files, your apps, all that.
I think that's a big struggle for a lot of people.
It is. It can be so overwhelming. But it's all about, you know, what adds value, what's just noise and distraction. Got to get rid of the stuff that's not serving you.
So it's like being intentional with what we consume online.
Yes. Just like with our possessions and our time.
Man, this has been such a good conversation.
It has.
I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn, right?
So much more. But I think our listeners have a good starting point now.
They do. They can definitely start building a leaner, more intentional life.
Definitely. So as we wrap up, what's like one thing you hope our listeners remember?
Lean living, it's not about like giving things up. It's about empowerment. It's about choosing a life that feels good, a life that's, you know, authentic.
That's so good. And remember, listener, you don't have to do it all at once.
One step at a time.
Start small. Be patient.
Celebrate the wins.
Exactly. What small step can you take today just to start simplifying, to create space for what matters?
Even the smallest thing, it can make a difference.
Totally. Okay, it's been so great diving into this with you.
That too.
And listener, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into lean living. We hope you learned something.
And we hope you feel inspired.
Yes. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, anything you want to share in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Come say hi.
And please don't forget to follow the European Association for Higher Education Advancement. They're on YouTube and social